The Longer Sukhavativyuha, description of Sukhavati, the land of bliss. Om. Adoration to the three treasures. Om. Adoration to all the glorious Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Aryas, Shravakas, and Pratyekya Buddhas, past, present, and to come, who dwell in the unlimited and endless lokadhatus of the 10 quarters. Adoration to Amitabha. Adoration to him whose soul is endowed with incomprehensible virtues. Adoration to Amitabha, to the Jina, to thee, O Muni. I go to Sukhavati through thy compassion also, to Sukhavati with its groves, resplendent with gold, the delightful, adorned with the sons of Sugata. I go to it, which is full of many jewels and treasures, and the refuge of thee, the famous and wise. Thus it was heard by me. At one time, the Bhagavat dwelt in Rajagriha, on the mountain of Gridakuta, with a large assembly of bhikshus, with 32,000 of bhikshus, all holy, arhats, free from frailties and cares, who had performed their religious duties, whose thoughts had been thoroughly freed through perfect knowledge, with inquiring thoughts, who had broken the fetters of existence, who had obtained their desires, who had conquered, who had achieved the highest self-restraint, whose thoughts and whose knowledge were unfettered, Mahanagas, possessed of the 6 kinds of knowledge, self-controlled, meditating on the 8 kinds of salvation, possessed of the powers, wise in wisdom, elders, great disciples. Then there's a big list of names which I cannot pronounce, up to 34. The blessed Ananda. With these, and with other elders and great disciples, who were wise in wisdom, with the exception of one person who had still to be advanced on the path of the disciples, the blessed Ananda, and with many noble-minded bodhisattvas, led by Maitreya. Then the blessed Ananda, having risen from his seat, having put his cloak on one shoulder, knelt down on the earth with his right knee, making obeisance with folded hands in the direction of the Bhagavat. Spoke thus to the Bhagavat. Thy organs of sense, O Bhagavat, are serene. The color of thy skin is clear, the color of thy face bright and yellowish. As an autumn cloud is pale, clear, bright, and yellowish, thus the organs of sense of the Bhagavat are serene. The color of his face is clear, the color of his skin bright and yellowish. And as, O Bhagavat, a piece of gold coming from the Gambu river, having been thrown into a furnace by a clever smith or by his apprentice, and well fashioned, when thrown on a pale cloth, looks extremely clear, bright and yellowish. Thus the organs of sense of the Bhagavat are serene. The color of his face is clear, and the color of his skin bright and yellowish. Moreover, I do not know, O Bhagavat, that I have ever seen the organs of the sense of the Tathagata so serene. The color of his face is so clear, and the color of his skin so bright and yellowish before now. This thought occurs to me, O Bhagavat. Probably the Tathagata dwells today in the state of a Buddha. Probably the Tathagata dwells today in the state of a Gina, in the state of omniscience, in the state of a Mahanaga, and he contemplates the holy and fully enlightened Tathagatas of the past, future, and present. After these words, the Bhagavat thus spoke to the blessed Ananda. Well said, Ananda. Did the gods suggest this to you, or the blessed Buddhas? Or do you know this through the philosophical knowledge which you possess? After these words, the blessed Ananda spoke thus to the Bhagavat. The gods, O Bhagavat, do not suggest this matter to me, nor the blessed Buddhas, but this thought occurs to me by my own philosophy alone, that probably the Tathagata dwells today in the state of a Buddha. Probably the Tathagata dwells today in the state of a Gina, in the state of omniscience, in the state of a Mahanaga, or he contemplates the venerable Buddhas of the past, future, and present. After these words, the Bhagavat spoke thus to the blessed Ananda. Well said, Ananda. Excellent indeed is your question, good your philosophy, and beautiful your understanding. You, O Ananda, have arrived for the benefit and happiness of many people out of compassion for the world, for the sake of the great body of men, for the benefit and happiness of gods and men. As you think it right to ask the Tathagata this matter, thus indeed Ananda might pile up intellectual knowledge under immeasurable and innumerable blessed, holy, and fully enlightened Tathagatas, and yet the knowledge of the Tathagata would not be exceeded thereby. Why? Because, O Ananda, one who possesses the knowledge of a Tathagata possesses an intellectual knowledge of causes that cannot be exceeded. If the Tathagata wished, O Ananda, he could live for a whole kalpa on one alms gift, or for 100 kalpas, or for 1,000 kalpas, or for 100,000 kalpas, to 100,000 nayutis of kotis of kalpas. Nay, he could live beyond, and yet the organs of nature of the Tathagata would not perish, and the color of his face would not be altered, nor would the color of his skin be injured. And why? Because, O Ananda, the Tathagata has so fully obtained the paramitas, which arise from samadhi. The appearance of fully enlightened Buddhas is very difficult to be obtained in this world, O Ananda, as the appearance of Udambara flowers is very difficult to be obtained in this world. Thus, O Ananda, the appearance of Tathagatas who desire welfare, wish for what is beneficial, are compassionate, and have arrived at the highest compassion, is very difficult to be obtained. But, O Ananda, it is owing to the grace of the Tathagata himself that you think that the Tathagata should be asked this question, so that there may arise in this world beings who can be teachers of all the world, for the sake of the noble-minded bodhisattvas. Therefore, O Ananda, listen, and take it well. Take it rightly to heart. I shall tell you. Yes, O Bhagavat. So did the blessed Ananda answer the Bhagavat. The Bhagavat then spoke to Ananda. At the time, O Ananda, which was long ago in the past, in an innumerable and more than innumerable, enormous, immeasurable, and incomprehensible kalpa before now, at that time, and at that moment, there arose in the world a holy and fully enlightened Tathagata called Dipankara. Following after Dipankara, O Ananda, there was a Tathagata, Pratapavat. I'm not going to be able to pronounce these names very well, but he ends up listing a bunch of Buddhas, 80 Buddhas. Simhamati. After Simhamati, a fully and wholly enlightened Tathagata arose in the world. Lokeshvara Raja, by name, perfect in knowledge and conduct, a Sugata, knowing the world, without a superior, charioteer of men whose passions have to be tamed, teacher of gods and men, a Buddha, a Bhagavat. And again, during the time of the preaching of this holy and fully enlightened Tathagata, Lokeshvara Raja, O Ananda, there was a bhikshu, Dharmakara, by name, richly endowed with memory, with understanding, prudence, and wisdom, richly endowed with vigor, and of noble character. Then, O Ananda, that bhikshu Dharmakara, having risen from his seat, having put his cloak on one shoulder, and knelt on the earth with his right knee, stretching forth his folded hands to where the Bhagavat Tathagata Lokeshvara Raja was, and after worshipping the Bhagavat, he, at that very time, praised him in his presence with these gathas. O thou of immeasurable light, whose knowledge is endless and incomparable, not any other light can shine here, where thou art. The rays of the sun, of the moon of Shiva, and of the jewel of the sun, were not bright here in the whole world. The form also is infinite in the best of beings. Thus also the voice of Buddha is of infinite sound. His virtue likewise with meditation, knowledge, strength. Like unto thee there is no one in this world. The Dharma is deep, wide, and subtle. The best of Buddhas is incomprehensible, like the ocean. Therefore there is no further exaltation of the teacher. Having left all faults, he is gone to the other shore. Then the best of Buddhas, of endless light, lights up all regions. He, the King of Kings, and I, having become Buddha and a master of the law, may I deliver mankind from old age and death. And I, on the strength of generosity, equanimity, virtue, forbearance, power, meditation, and absorption, undertake here the first and best duties, and shall become a Buddha, the savior of all beings. And I, seeking for the knowledge of the best of the blessed ones, shall always worship many hundred thousands of kotis of Buddhas, endless like the sand of the Ganga, the Ganges River, the incomparable lords. Whatever worlds there are, similar in number to the sand of the Ganges River, and the endless countries which exist besides, there everywhere I shall send out light, because I have attained such power. My land is to be noble, the first and the best, the Bodhi tree excellent in this world. There is incomparable happiness arising from nirvana, and this also I shall explain as vain. Beings come hither from the 10 quarters. Having arrived there, they may quickly show my happiness. Having arrived there, they quickly show my happiness. May Buddha there teach me the truth. I form a desire full of truth, strength, and vigor. I, knowing the worlds of the 10 quarters, possessed of absolute knowledge, they also always proclaim my thought. May I, gone to the Avicii hell, but I shall never cease to practice the power of prayer. Then, O Ananda, that bhikshu Dharmakara, having praised the Bhagavat, the Tathagata Lokeshvara Raja, I don't know how to pronounce that correctly, in his presence with those gathas, spoke thus: O Bhagavat, I wish to know the highest perfect knowledge. Again and again I raise and incline my thoughts towards the highest perfect knowledge. May therefore the Bhagavat, as a teacher, thus teach me the law, that I may quickly know the highest perfect knowledge. May I become in the world a Tathagata equal to the unequaled, and may the Bhagavat proclaim those signs by which I may comprehend the perfection of all good qualities of a Buddha country. After this, O Ananda, the Bhagavat Lokeshvara Raja, the Tathagata, thus spoke to that bhikshu Dharmakara. So, Lokeshvara Raja is talking to Dharmakara. Dharmakara will become Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light. Do you by yourself, O bhikshu, know the perfection of all excellences and good qualities of a Buddha country? He said, O Bhagavat, I could not do this, but the Bhagavat alone. explain the perfection of the excellences and all the good qualities of Buddha countries of the other Tathagatas, after hearing which way we may fulfill every one of their signs. So he wants to hear about all the Buddha countries. Then, O Ananda, the Tathagata Lokeshvara Raja, holy and fully enlightened, knowing the good disposition of that bhikshu, taught for a full koti of years the perfection of all the excellences and good qualities of Buddha countries belonging to 8,100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddhas, together with the signs, indication, and description, desiring welfare, wishing for benefits, compassionate, full of compassion, so that there might never be an end of Buddha countries, having conceived great pity for all beings. The measure of life of that Tathagata was full 40 kalpas. Then, O Ananda, that bhikshu, Dharmakara, taking the perfections of all the excellences and good qualities of those Buddha countries, of those 8,100,000 nayutis of kotis of Buddhas, and concentrating them all on one Buddha country, worshipped with his head the feet of the Bhagavat Lokeshvara Raja, the Tathagata, turned respectfully round him to the right, and walked away from the presence of this Bhagavat, and afterwards, for the space of 5 kalpas, he thus concentrated the perfection of all the excellences and good qualities of the Buddha countries, such as had never been known before in the 10 quarters of the whole world, more excellent and more perfect than any, and composed the most excellent prayer. So he listened to Lokeshvara Raja explain the characteristics of infinite Buddha lands, and then he took the best of each of these Buddha lands, and now he's going to exclaim his vows. But we will get to that next time, because we are 17 minutes in, and nobody has any attention span anymore. And now the Bodhisattva Dharmakara is going to outline his vows that ultimately create the bliss realm. Then, O Ananda, that bhikshu Dharmakara thus spoke at that time to the Bhagavat. May the Bhagavat thus listen to me, to what my own prayers are, and how, after I shall have obtained the highest perfect knowledge, my own Buddha country will then be endowed with all the inconceivable excellences and good qualities. First vow. O Bhagavat, if in that country of mine there should be either hell, brute creation, the realm of departed spirits, or the body of Asuras, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 2. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine the beings who are born there should fall away, or die, and fall into hell, the brute creation, the realm of departed spirits, or into the body of Asuras, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. So these two have been about the existence of other realms that are not very fun to be born in. 3. O Bhagavat, if in that country of mine the beings who are there should not all be of one color, a golden color, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 4. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine there should be perceived any difference between gods and men, except when people count and tell, saying, these are gods and men, but only in ordinary and imperfect parlance, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat. 5. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine the beings who are born there should not be possessed of the highest paramitas of miraculous power and self-control, so that they could at least in the shortest moment of one thought step over 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 6. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine the beings who are born there should not all be possessed of the recollection of their former births, so as at least to remember 100,000 nayutas of kotis of kalpas, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 7. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine the beings who are born there should not all acquire the divine eye, the Dharma eye, so as at least to be able to see 100,000 nayutas of kotis of worlds, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat, 8. If in that Buddha country of mine the beings who are born there should not all acquire the divine ear, so as at least to be able to hear at the same time the good law from 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 9. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine the beings who are born there should not all be skilled in the knowledge of the thoughts of other people, so as at least to be able to know the deeds and thoughts of beings belonging to 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 10. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine the beings who are born there should form any idea of property, even with regard to their own body, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat, 11. If in that Buddha country of mine the beings who are born there should not all be firmly established in absolute truth, till they have reached Mahaparinirvana, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 12. O Bhagavat, if any being should be able to count the pupils belonging to me after I have obtained the highest perfect knowledge in that Buddha country of mine, even if all beings who are contained in those 3 millions of spheres of worlds, after having become Pratyekya Buddhas, should be counting for 100,000 nayutas of kotis of kalpas, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 13. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained the highest perfect knowledge, my light should be liable to be measured in this Buddha country of mine, even by the measure of 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 14. O Bhagavat, if the measure of the life of the beings in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained the highest perfect knowledge, should be liable to be measured, excepting always by their own power of prayer, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 15. O Bhagavat, if the measure of my life, after I have obtained Bodhi, should be limited, even by numbering 100,000 nayutas of kotis of kalpas, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 16. O Bhagavat, if, for the beings in this Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, even the name of sin should exist, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 17. O Bhagavat, If immeasurable and innumerable blessed Buddhas in immeasurable Buddha countries do not glorify my name after I have obtained the Bodhi, if they do not preach my fame and proclaim my praise and utter it together, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 18. O Bhagavat, if those beings who have directed their thought towards the highest perfect knowledge in other worlds, and who, after having heard my name, when I have obtained the Bodhi, have meditated on me with serene thoughts, if at the moment of their death, after having approached them, surrounded by an assembly of bhikshus, I should not stand before them, worshipped by them, that is, so that their thoughts should not be troubled, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 19. O Bhagavat, if those beings who in immeasurable and innumerable Buddha countries, after they have heard my name, when I shall have obtained Bodhi, should direct their thought to be born in that Buddha country of mine, and should for that purpose bring their stock of merit to maturity, if these should not be born in that country, in that Buddha country, even those who have only 10 times repeated the thought of that Buddha country, barring always those beings who have committed the 5 anantarya sins. Anantarya. The 5 sins which bring immediate retribution. Bad sins. And who have caused an obstruction and abused the good law, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 20. O Bhagavat, if those beings who have been born in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should not all be bound to one birth only, after reaching the highest perfect knowledge, barring always the special prayers of those very noble-minded bodhisattvas who have put on the whole armor of the law, who understand the welfare of all beings, who are devoted to all beings, who work for the attainment of nirvana of all beings, who wish to perform the duty of a bodhisattva in all worlds, who wish to serve all Buddhas, and to bring beings, in number like grains of sand of the river Ganga, to the highest perfect knowledge, and who besides are turned towards the higher practice, and perfect in the practice of the Samantabhadra discipline, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. Samantabhadra, I think, is enlightened action. Maybe. 21. O Bhagavat, if the bodhisattvas who are born in that country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should not all be able, after having gone to other Buddha countries, after their one morning meal, to worship many hundreds of Buddhas, many thousands of Buddhas, many 100,000s of Buddhas, many kotis of Buddhas, etc., till up to many 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddhas, with objects which give every kind of pleasure, and this through the grace of the Buddha, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 22. O Bhagavat, if those bodhisattvas in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should wish their stock of merit to grow in the following shapes, either in gold, in silver, in jewels, in pearls, in beryls, in shells, in stones, in coral, in crystal, in amber, in red pearls, in diamonds, etc., or in any one of the other jewels, or in all kinds of perfumes, in flowers, in garlands, in ointment, in incense powder, in cloaks, in umbrellas, in flags, in banners, or in lamps, or in all kinds of dancing, singing, and music, and if such gifts should not appear for them, from being produced as soon as thought of, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 23. O Bhagavat, if those beings who are born in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should not all recite the story of the law, the Dharma, which is accompanied by omniscience, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 24. O Bhagavat, if the bodhisattvas in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should think thus, may we, remaining in this world, honor, revere, esteem, and worship the blessed Buddhas in immeasurable and innumerable Buddha countries, with cloaks, alms bowls, beds, stools, refreshments, medicines, utensils, with flowers, incense, lamps, perfumes, garlands, ointment, powder, cloaks, umbrellas, flags, banners, with different kinds of dancing, singing, and music, and with showers of jewels. And if the blessed Buddhas should not accept them, when they are produced as soon as thought of, from compassion, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat, if the bodhisattvas who are born in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should not all be in possession of strength of body as strong as the diamond or thunderbolt of Narayana, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 26. O Bhagavat, if any being in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should learn the limit of the beauty of its ornament, even if he be possessed of the divine eye, and should know its various beauty, saying, that Buddha country possesses so much beauty and so much magnificence, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat, if, in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, a bodhisattva possessed even of a very small stock of merit should not perceive the Bodhi tree of noble beauty, at least 100 yojanas in height, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 28. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, either teaching or learning should have to be made by any being, and they should not all be in possession of the perfect knowledge, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 29. O Bhagavat, if that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should not be so brilliant that in it could be seen on all sides immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, incomparable, immense Buddha countries, as a round face is seen in a highly burnished round mirror, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, there should not be 100,000 of vases full of different sweet perfumes, made of all kinds of jewels, always smoking with incense, fit for the worship of bodhisattvas and tathagatas, rising into the sky beyond gods, men, and all things, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 31. O Bhagavat, if in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, there should not be showers of sweet jewel flowers, always pouring down, and if there should not be sweet-sounding music clouds, always playing, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 32. O Bhagavat, if the beings belonging to me, after I have obtained Bodhi, who are visible by their splendor, in immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, incomparable worlds, should not all be filled with pleasure, far beyond gods and men, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 33. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi, the noble-minded bodhisattvas in immeasurable, inconceivable, incomparable, immense Buddha countries on all sides, after having heard my name, should not be delivered from birth through the merit arising from that hearing, and should not be strong in the knowledge of Dharanis, until they have obtained the very throne of Bodhi, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 34. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi, women in immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, incomparable, immense Buddha countries on all sides, after having heard my name, should allow carelessness to arise, should not turn their thoughts towards Bodhi, should, when they are free from birth, not despise their female nature, and if they, being born again, should assume a second female nature, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. I wonder what that's about. 35. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi, the bodhisattvas who in immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, incomparable, immense Buddha countries around about in the 10 quarters, having heard my name, and having fallen down, shall worship me with prostrate reverence, should not, when performing the duty of bodhisattvas, be honored by the world and by gods, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 36. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi, the work of dyeing, sewing, drying, washing of the cloaks should have to be performed by any bodhisattva, and they should not perceive themselves as quick as thought, covered by newly produced excellent cloaks, granted to them by the Tathagata, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 37. O Bhagavat, if the beings who are born at the same time in that Buddha country, after I have obtained Bodhi, should not obtain such happiness as that of the holy bhikshu, who is free from pain and has obtained the third meditation, third jhana, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat, if those bodhisattvas who are born in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should not produce from different jewel trees such a mass of excellent ornaments in that Buddha country as they should wish for, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 39. O Bhagavat, if the bodhisattvas who are born in other Buddha countries, when they have heard my name, after I shall have obtained Bodhi, should suffer any diminution in the strength of their senses, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 40. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained the Bodhi, the bodhisattvas, from hearing my name in a different place of a different Buddha country, should not obtain the samadhi called Suvibhaktavati, in which samadhi the bodhisattvas will see immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, incomparable, immense, blessed Buddhas one moment after another, and if that samadhi of theirs should come to an end meanwhile, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 41. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi, beings, having heard my name in Buddha countries different from this, should not, through the stock of merit which follows on that hearing, obtain birth in a noble family, till they arrive at Bodhi, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 42. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi, the Bodhisattvas who live in other Buddha countries, after hearing my name, till they have reached Bodhi by the stock of merit which follows on that hearing, should not all obtain a combination of their stock of merit with the joy and gladness of their bodhisattva life, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 43. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi, the bodhisattvas, as soon as they have heard my name in other worlds, should not obtain the samadhi called Samanta Nugata, in which bodhisattvas honor one moment after another, immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, incomparable, immense, blessed Buddhas, and if that samadhi of theirs should come to an end before they have reached the throne of Bodhi, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. 44. O Bhagavat, if the beings who are born in that Buddha country of mine, after I have obtained Bodhi, should not hear, as quick as thought, such a teaching of the law as they wish to hear, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi, the bodhisattvas in this and other Buddha countries, as soon as they have heard my name, should ever turn back from the highest perfect knowledge, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. O Bhagavat, if, after I have obtained Bodhi and have become a Buddha teacher, the bodhisattvas who hear my name in Buddha countries and obtain the first, the second, and the third degrees of endurance as soon as they have heard my name, should turn away again from the Buddha, the law, and the church, then may I not obtain the highest perfect knowledge. Turn away from the triple gem, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So then I'm not sure what's happening. And again, O Ananda, when he had spoken such prayers, that bhikshu, Dharmakara, at that time, through the grace of Buddha, spoke these verses. What is this repeating? If, when I have obtained Bodhi, there should not be for me an excellent pranidhana of such a character, then, O Prince, O best of beings, may I not be endowed with the 10 powers, incomparable, worthy of offerings. 2. If there should not be for me such a country, endowed with many and various mighty and divine endowments, I should gladly go to hell, suffering pain, and not be a king of treasures. 3. If, when I have approached the Bodhi throne, my name should not quickly reach the 10 quarters, the broad and many endless Buddha countries, may I not be a lord of the world, endowed with power. 4. If indeed I should delight in the enjoyments of love, being deprived of zeal, understanding, and prudence, even after having reached the incomparable and blessed Bodhi, may I not be a teacher in the world, endowed with power. 5. The Lord of vast light, incomparable and infinite, has illuminated all Buddha countries and all the quarters. He has quieted passions, all sins and errors. He has quieted the fire and the walk of hell. 6. After making his broad eye lustrous, after driving away the darkness from all men, after removing all untimely misfortunes, he led hither those who dwell in Svarga, heaven, and who shine with endless light. 7. The splendor of sun and moon does not shine in heaven, nor the fiery splendor of the maze of jewels of the gods. The Lord overcomes all splendor, he, the bright one, who has performed his former discipline. 8. He is the best of men, the treasure of all who suffer. There is no one like him in all the quarters. Having completed 100,000 of good works, he, in his assembly, raised the lion voice of Buddha. 9. After having worshipped former self-existing Ginas, after having performed immeasurable kotis of vows and penances, he became in this, his best of spiritual existences, the best of beings, possessed of the full power of prayer. As the Bhagavat, the Lord, who is possessed of unlimited light of knowledge, knows the three kinds of knowledge in the world, may I also be worthy of equal offerings. The best of sages, the leader of men. If, O Lord, this my prayer succeeds, after I have obtained Bodhi, may this sphere of 1,000 worlds tremble, and may a shower of flowers descend upon the hosts of gods. Then the earth trembled, flowers were showered down, hundreds of instruments resounded in the sky, powder of heavenly sweet sandalwood was scattered, and there was a voice saying, Thou wilt be a Buddha in the world. That Bhikshu Dharmakara, the noble-minded bodhisattva, O Ananda, was possessed of this perfection of prayers, and a few bodhisattvas only, O Ananda, are possessed of such a perfection of prayers. There is on this earth an appearance of a few only of such prayers, or vows. Of a few, however, existence cannot be denied. Then again, O Ananda, this Bhikshu, Dharmakara, having recited these peculiar prayers before the Bhagavat Lokeshvara Raja, the Tathagata, and before the world, including gods, Mara and Brahman, and before people, consisting of Shramanas and Brahmanas, with gods, mens, and Asuras, was established in the attainment of the true promise. And proclaiming this purity of the Buddha country, and performing the duty of a bodhisattva, he never conceived the remotest thoughts of lust, malevolence, and cruelty during 100,000 nayutas of kotis of years, immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, incomparable, measureless, immense, inexpressible. And he never conceived the idea of lust, malevolence, and cruelty. Nay, he never conceived the idea of form, sound, smell, taste, and touch. He was gentle, charming indeed, and compassionate, pleasant to live with, agreeable, amiable, content, of few wishes, satisfied, retired, not evil, not foolish, not suspicious, not crooked, not wicked, not deceitful, tender, kindly speaking, always zealous, docile in the searching after the pure law, Dharma, pure Dharma, and for the good of all beings, he recited the great vow, showing respect to friends, teachers, masters, the church, the Sangha, the Dharma, and Buddha, always girded for the performance of the duties of the Bodhisattva, righteous, gentle, not deceitful, not flattering, virtuous, a leader for the sake of rousing others to perform all good dharmas, producing by his activity the idea of emptiness, causelessness, and purposelessness, and he was well guarded in his speech. Then, performing the duties of a bodhisattva, after having given up all speaking which, when spoken, serves to injure oneself or others, or both, he employed only such speech as served the pleasure and benefit of himself, others, or both. And he was so wise that, when entering into capitals, kingdoms, countries, towns, cities, and villages, he was always perfectly restrained with regard to all objects of sense, performing himself the duties of the bodhisattva without interruption. He walked himself in the highest perfection of liberality, and he also roused others to walk in the same, and himself walking in the highest perfections of knowledge, meditation, strength, patience, and virtue, the paramitas, he roused others also to walk in the same. And he has collected so large a stock of merit that, wherever he is born, there arise for him many hundreds of thousands of nayutas, of kotis, of treasures from out the earth. By him, while he was thus performing the duties of a bodhisattva, immeasurable and innumerable hundreds of thousands of nayutas, of kotis, of beings were established in perfect enlightenment, of whom it is not easy to know the limits by means of speech. So many immeasurable and innumerable holy Buddhas were honored, revered, esteemed, and worshipped, and enabled to touch whatever causes pleasure, such as cloaks, alms bowls, couches, seats, refreshments, medicines, and other furniture. It is not easy to know the limit by pointing it out in words, as to how many beings were established by him in the noble families of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, ministers, householders, and merchants. It is not easy to know the limit by pointing it out in words, as to how many beings were established by him in the noble families of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, ministers, householders, and merchants. In the same manner they were established in the sovereignty of Jambudvipa, and they were established in the character of Chakravartins, Lokapalas, Shakras, Suyamas, Sutushitas, Sunirmitas, Vasavartins, Devaragas, Mahabrahmins. So many immeasurable and innumerable Buddhas were honored, revered, esteemed, and worshipped, and requested to turn the wheel of the Dharma, of whom it is not easy to know the limit by means of words. And he collected such virtue that out of his mouth, while performing the duties of a bodhisattva, during immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, incomparable, immense, measureless, inexpressible kotis of kalpas, there breathed a sweet and more than heavenly smell of sandalwood. From all the pores of his hair there arose the smell of lotus, and he was pleasing to everybody, gracious and beautiful, endowed with the fullness of the best bright color. As his body was adorned with all the good signs and marks, there arose from the pores and from the palms of his hands all sorts of precious ornaments, in the shapes of all kinds of cloaks and vestments, in the shape of all kinds of flowers, incense, scents, garlands, ointments, umbrellas, flags, and banners, and in the shape of all kinds of instrumental music, And there appeared also, streaming forth from the palms of his hands, all kinds of drink, food, hard and soft, and all kinds of enjoyments and pleasures. Thus, then, that Bhikshu Dharmakara, O Ananda, had obtained the command of all necessaries after performing the duties of a bodhisattva. After this, the blessed Ananda thus spoke to the Bhagavat. O Bhagavat, has that Bhikkhu Dharmakara, the noble-minded bodhisattva, after having obtained the highest perfect knowledge, passed away, having entered nirvana? Or has he not yet been enlightened? Or is he now living and enlightened? And does he dwell now, remain, support himself, and teach the Dharma? The Bhagavat said, Not indeed, O Ananda, has that Tathagata passed away, nor has he not yet come. But the Tathagata, the holy, after having obtained the highest perfect knowledge, the perfection of wisdom, dwells now, remains, supports himself, and teaches the Dharma in the western quarter, in the Buddha country, distant from this world by 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries, in the world which is called Sukhavati. Being called Amitabha, the Tathagata, holy and fully enlightened, he is surrounded by innumerable bodhisattvas, and worshipped by endless Shravakas, and in possession of the endless perfection of his Buddha country. And his light is immeasurable, so that it is not easy to know the limit of its measure, saying, He stands illuminating so many hundreds of Buddha countries, so many thousands of Buddha countries, so many 100,000s of Buddha countries, so many kotis of Buddha countries, so many 100 kotis of Buddha countries, so many 1,000 kotis of Buddha countries, so many 100,000s of kotis of Buddha countries, so many 100,000s of nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries. But indeed, O Ananda, to put it briefly, 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries, equal to the sands of the river Ganges, are always lighted up in the eastern quarter by the light of that Bhagavat Amitabha. Thus, on every side, in the southern, western, northern quarter, in the zenith and nadir, I don't know how to say that word, in every one of these quarters, there are 100,000 nayutas of kotis of Buddha countries, like the sands of the river Ganges, always lighted up by the light of that Bhagavat Amitabha. Excepting the Buddhas, the Bhagavats, who, through the practice of their former prayers, have lighted up the world by their own light, which is a fathom in length, or by their light which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 yojanas in length, or 100 or 1,000 or 100,000 yojanas in length, until their brightness reaches many 100,000 nayutas of kotis of yojanas in length. There is not, O Ananda, any case of likeness by which the extent of the light of the Tathagata Amitabha could be understood. Hence, O Ananda, for that reason the Tathagata is called Amitabha, possessed of infinite light, possessed of infinite splendor, possessed of infinite brilliancy, whose light is never finished, whose light is not conditioned, whose light proceeds from flames of light, whose light is that of heavenly jewels, whose light has the color of unimpeded rays, possessed of beautiful light, possessed of lovely light, possessed of delightful light, possessed of attractive light, possessed of pleasant light, possessed of light that cannot be stopped, possessed of extremely powerful light, possessed of incomparable light, possessed of light greater than that of the lords of men, nay, the lords of the three worlds, possessed of light which bends the full moon and the sun, possessed of light which bends all the conquered gods, Maheshvara, the Sudhavasas, Brahmin, Chakra, and the Lokapalas. This splendor of the Arya is pure, great, producing bodily pleasure, happiness of mind, producing happiness, delight, and joy for men, and not men. Kimnaras, Mahoragas, Garudas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Nagas, Asuras, and Devas, and producing the pleasure of beings of good disposition. And in this manner, O Ananda, the Tathagata might speak for a whole kalpa on the work of the Tathagata Amitabha, beginning with his light, and yet he would not be able to reach the end of the virtues of that light of the Tathagata. Neither would there be any failure of the self-confidence in the Tathagata himself. And why? Because, O Ananda, both these things are immeasurable, innumerable, inconceivable, and endless. That is, first, the greatness of the excellence of the light of the Tathagata Amitabha, the Bhagavat, and second, the unsurpassed light of the knowledge possessed by myself. And, O Ananda, the assembly of the hearers of that Tathagata Amitabha is immeasurable, so that it is not easy to learn its measure, so as to be able to say, there are so many kotis of the hearers, so many hundreds, thousands, 100,000s, kankaras, vimbaras, nayutas, ayutas, akshobhyas, vivahas, shrotas, ogas, so many periods, called immeasurable, innumerable, countless, incomparable, inconceivable. Now, for instance, O Ananda, the Bhikshu Madgalyayana, the Bhikshu Madgalyayana, having obtained miraculous power, might, if he wished, count in one day and night how many kinds of stars there are in the universal world. Then let there be 100,000 nayutas of kotis of such men, endowed with miraculous powers of counting, and let them do nothing else but count for the first company only of the hearers of the Tathagata Amitabha, during 100,000 nayutas of kotis of years, and yet by them thus counting, even the 100th part would not be counted, even the 1,000th, even the 100,000th, nay, not even so far as the minutest part, or likeness, or approach towards it would have been counted. Thus, for instance, O Ananda, a man might throw out from the great ocean, which is not to be measured across by length less than 84,000 yojanas, one single drop of water by the sharp end of a hair, which is divided 100 times. What do you think then, Ananda, which would be greater? One drop of water which has been thrown up by the sharp pointed hair divided 100 times, or the mass of water left in the great ocean? Ananda said, even 1,000 yojanas, O Bhagavat, would be a small portion of the great ocean. How much more, then, one drop of water thrown out by the sharp pointed hair divided 100 times? Bhagavat said, as that one drop of water, so small in proportion was the first company of hearers. And let there be reckoning made by those bhikshus, who are like Madgalyayana, counting for 100,000 nayutas of kotis of years, and yet, as to the mass of water left in the great ocean, it would even then have to be considered as not counted. How much more with regard to the second, third, and the rest of the companies of the monks following the Tathagata Amitabha. Therefore, the mass of hearers of the Bhagavad is endless and boundless, and receives the name of immeasurable and innumerable. And, O Ananda, the length of the life of the Bhagavad Amitabha, the Tathagata, is immeasurable, so that it is not easy to know its length, so as to be able to say that it comprises so many hundreds of kalpas, so many thousands of kalpas, so many 100,000s of kalpas, so many kotis of kalpas, so many hundreds of kotis of kalpas, so many thousands of kotis of kalpas, so many 100,000s of kotis of kalpas, so many 100,000s of nayutas of kotis of kalpas. Therefore, O Ananda, the limit of the measure of the life of that Bhagavad is immeasurable indeed. Therefore, the Tathagata is called Amitayus. Amitayus. I'm not sure. And as, O Ananda, the rule of making known the reckoning of kalpas exists here in this world, 10 kalpas have passed now since Bhagavad Amitayus, the Tathagata, arose and awoke to the highest perfect knowledge.